Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to be working on Large Marge, or more specifically on the windows on Large Marge. And the little task I've set myself is to see if we can't convert it to electric windows, power windows, which I'd quite like. That whole idea kind of kicked off with the fact that the window regulators, the rear ones, wouldn't work at all. The front doors kind of went up and down with a lot of help hanging onto the glass and jiggling and lifting, and it was just a pain. Can't get your arm out the window to get that tan, and you can't order drive-through, so something had to give. So I got the regulator out and actually sort of messed with it, freed it up, and kind of got to thinking that this is what I call the fan gear. On the window. Now this is the same pretty much on any window unless you go into hydraulic windows. And crank handle goes on here. You wind it, there's a little wee gear in here, and it just winds across this fan gear. And I'm like, that's fairly simple. And I've done a few electric window conversions like on the Mustang and stuff. And it has the same sort of fan gear, just a little bit different than electric motor mounted on it. And I'm like, okay, well, nobody's making kits for Marge because it's a 59 Plymouth wagon. So I thought, well, let's have a look around, see if I can find something that might be able to adapt, get creative, actually make something. So I did. So I got online and I looked around and I found a bunch of different power window motors that, were kind of around 60, 70, 80 bucks. And I thought, yeah, that's not too bad. Like times 4, it starts to add up. But then you've got to get this motor mounted onto here and meshing with that gear in a way that it's not going to fall off in a month's time or 6 months' time. So, okay, so I kept digging and I came up with this. Now, this is off a Honda, like a little Civic. I think it was a Honda Civic. And it's got a very similar fan gear. The teeth are like close enough. I mean, this is not, the teeth don't have to be perfect like a ring gear and pinion or gears in a transmission. Like this just runs for 30 seconds and these teeth are just chopped out of mild steel fan. And so yeah, they don't have to be exact. They need to be close-ish, but not exact. So I thought, well, if I can get all that and that, believe it or not, the left side is 32 bucks. And the right side is $31. So if I can pull this off, and I'm not saying I can, but I guess I quietly hoping / thinking I can, 126 bucks, we got power windows, 4 power windows. And it's like, for that kind of money, I'm going to give it a crack. So let's get started. I think the first thing we're going to need to do is get this off of here, which is going to be, there's little wee rivets in here, 3 of them. So I'm not going to destroy this getting off in case I kind of have to eat my words and go, this ain't going to work. So I'm going to carefully grind these off, get that out of there, get the motor off here and see how much of each one of these we can use to make it work. Alrighty, now, screwdriver. Oop, there you go. There's a big spring in here. Okay, so that's come off it there. Little bits flying everywhere. There's got a bit of spring tension on there. Alright, so this can be put back together pretty easily. There's nice fresh looking red grease in here because I did get as far as getting this out and lubing it, and then I had this brilliant idea of converting them to electric. So let's get rid of that grease so we don't make too big a mess. Now that's the gear. So that leaves us let's pop this off of here. Now, one of the things that crossed my mind was like, hey, is a little Honda electric window motor going to be strong enough for a big old Plymouth? Golly, that's tight. And that one's not. So yeah, I was thinking about it, and if you actually have a look at one of these little Honda Civic sport hatches, now the car's like half of Marge, but their windows are almost double the size. They're a little two-door sporty thing. The windows are taller, longer, and you know, at least is probably 50% heavier than the window in Marge. So yeah, that I really don't see that as being an issue. Okay, if you get an impact for that, it doesn't want to come undone. There we go. Right, so here's our little motor. What's kind of surprising is that, you know, you can get that whole regulator and motor for $30, and just the motor for most other vehicles that I came across, you know, were double that. So what I will do is, like in the description for the video, I'm going to post the part numbers of these and any other parts we use. I'll put all in the description. So if you want to do it, if I can do it, hopefully you can do it. And yeah, there'll be lots of power windows. So yeah, there's the gear. All right, so it's not identical. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 9 teeth on that one, and we've got 8 teeth on this one. So you know, it's not perfect, but try and get this. This is the joy of filming on your own. If you can see that, you know, there is a mesh there. Try and get it square to the camera. Like, the teeth do kind of line up. Good enough for an electric window. That's going to rock and roll, I believe. So what I also want to do now is get rid of the spring off of here. This coil spring is there to help you wind up the window, you know, when it's manual windows. Because gravity obviously helps take the winder down, and then when you're trying to wind it up, you need a little bit of help. It's kind of like a garage, you know, the roller door on your garage has a big spring to help it go up, and that spring kind of neutralizes the effect of gravity. Really, it means, you know, if you took the resistance in the winder handle away, the window wouldn't come crashing down. The spring's trying to push it back up, so it just balances out the gravity effect that you get. Now, get the greasy hands. So I'm thinking, right, now I have to make this. Yeah, this has done a rotation. That goes there. I need to make that fit onto here. And I'm like, now one thing, when this is in the car, this is the driver's side on Marge. That's how it fits in the car, as you would be looking at it if you were sitting in the driver's seat. Now, the window, the design of the door, the window's about, the front edge of the window that goes up and down is about here. Your quarter vent window is about here. So the motor hangs out like well forward. It's not under the window. I do think the front doors are going to be quite a bit easier to do than the back ones, because there's a lot less room in the back door. You've got this big space, like a good third of the door has nothing going up and down in it, whereas on the back door, like the whole length of the door has a window panel that's, you know, window pane that's going up and down. So what I can do is mount this motor. Obviously this is the inside of the door. We can mount this motor on that side, all right, because the window doesn't have to clear it. The window is going to be going up and down here. I hope that makes sense. Maybe when it's in, you know, it'll make a little more sense to you. But yeah, so what I'm thinking is, obviously the perfect mounting bracket is this factory one here. The way it went, like that. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to cut the mounting. I'm going to throw 90% of this regulator away. I'm going to cut this mounting bracket so I don't have to drill and mess around, try and get the spacing of the 3 bolts just right. So I'm going to cut that off there and then see if we can't weld it onto the Plymouth regulator. Make life easy. At least that's the plan. So I'm going to cut this off here. Now obviously starting place is like we've got a big hole here for whatever. I'm going to cut it through there, and that'll come off. And if we see if we can't get it mounted on here somehow. I'm not sure how many dollars worth that is out of our $32, but it's going down the road. So here's our bracket. Here's our motor. And this little piece here is the same. This little piece here is the same concept as this one. So what I'm thinking to do is I'll cut this neatly off of here. And it's as simple, right? Simple as getting that bracket welded onto this bracket at the right depth. So obviously the gear will mesh, and the right height distance away from the gear so that it also meshes. So I'm going to keep cutting, but I've just had someone come in, customer, to pick up his car, so I'm going to cut away for a moment. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm back. Right, now, yeah, as you can see, there's some visual similarities of what's going on. What I've got to do is sneak this, end up with this little point at the same point as that. So I'm going to kind of start whittling away at things. I'm going to have to cut this out of here because we can't reuse this part of it. So I'm going to put a little cut through here and here, and then just whittle away at this until we get it close enough, trim enough of the metal away that we can weld this bracket to this bracket, and hopefully it'll work. If it's not, I've got a bit of welding to do to put it back together, and I'm down a $30 motor. So not the end of the world. Right. So I'll put that to one side, just in case. But hey, you've got to have a positive attitude, right? Not going to happen. We won't need it. So now I've got to get that. If I put it behind, it's too low. If I put it on top, obviously it's way too high. So I think we need to lose a fair bit of depth off here and a fair bit off the front of this. So more cutting. So we're kind of still too high. That wants to actually sit like there. Ow, that's hot. That wants to sit about there. So this little, get you in the camera so we can close up. This little point here, it holds the fan gear against this part of the bracket. So this bracket had a piece like that. You can see the little wear mark on here. That's going to retain. We want to get that slid down so that sits there. So this has to basically be over here, kind of like that. So yeah, more whittling. Someone else is coming. That's what happens. A few minutes. It's about 4:30 here on the 3rd of July. So someone else picking up another car. I'll be back in a second. Probably going to be Friday, but hey. Okay, I'm back. It's another day. You know, it just got too late the other day, so I dealt with customers, and I just packed it up, went home and freshened the brain up. And I've been having a little bit more of a thought on this. My initial idea was to kind of try and mount this like this. This part of the factory mechanism we need to retain, because these 4 holes you can see here are what bolted to the inner door panel. So for that going down there, it was not looking great when you were trying to hold it up in the car. Plus, I was going to have to cut quite a bit out of the inner door skin to allow the room for that. So what I've decided to do is actually spin it around and slip it in that way. Just seems to be more room. So that's going to go in like about that. And basically we just got to weld it, you know, put some little bridge pieces in here, you know, to get it connected. And it's going to need to go about there so we can still access these screws. These 3 screws are what hold the motor to the bracket. So rather than being in the center there, which would seem like the obvious choice, the problem then is you can't access these 2 screws. So we're going to move it to one side a little bit, which is still going to give us enough swing. And that'll put the motor inside the door skin, because the door skin bolts up to that face. So that'll put it inside the inner door skin. And yeah, just life's going to be easier that way. So I'm going to get some tacks on here and put some power to it and see if my harebrained theory works. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is like push this right down hard into the teeth. Now you don't really want it, we don't want the meshing too hard because that's going to make noise. So I'll push it all the way in and then just bring it back out. I'm just going to pull it just a little, which is going to be hard to see on camera, but you know, probably about a 1/16 of an inch. So there's a little bit of this going on with the teeth rather than being like really hard in. They're going to be kind of like that, which will just allow a little bit of movement, a little bit of play, and theory, a little bit less noise. So just break out the MIG and see what we can do. There's a point here that's just touching between the 2 brackets. So I'm going to tack it there, and then we'll build up a little bit more of a framework to support it further. Okay. What happens when you're dealing with a rookie welder? It helps have the ground attached, doesn't it, guys? Really? Really does. Okay. Try this again. Put a ground on. Just make sure stuff didn't move. I don't know whether you can try and get it in close when you can see that, but there's just a little bit of free play there. You can see this fan gear in here just moving. That's how much clearance we've got on those gears. I don't want them meshing hard. So that should keep the noise down. Now, I'm going to take the motor off because we don't need that getting the heat from the welding. That's tacked in now to a point where it's going to stay there. So I'll undo those, take the motor off, and then I'm going to basically put a little support from there to there and a little support from there to there. Doesn't need to be a lot, just a little, just to stop this thing, the motor doing this as the load goes on and off. And we'll put some power to it. just to try and help you see what I'm doing. Now put that little piece there. And then we'll do something very similar on the other side, but one side at a time. So, quickly cool that off. Make up a little piece for the other side. All right, got it cooled off. Let's get the ground back on. So I use these vice grips to balance it. Yeah. It's got another little teeny tiny bit of metal. And that's just going to go there. Little tack, stop it deflecting. Yep, right. And that, I'll give you a little look at what we've done. Yeah, just a little bracket there, little tiny bracket here, just welded there where it was touching. So we've got 3 points of location. You cool that off again. Okay, so the acid test. Let's screw this motor back on. And now the other thing I did off camera, this, for whatever reason, this had another little leg out here, which wasn't used even on its factory regulator, which, you know, another one of these was sticking out here, maybe for some different application, which we didn't need. It was going to get in the way of this arm. So just buzz that off. That was easy. Okay. All right. Make some room. Now, got a little power supply here. Here we go, the moment of truth. Look at that. Woohoo! Window down or up, I'm not sure which there. That's going to be window down. Window up. It works. I wasn't hearing any noise. Okay. It's got no lubrication on it yet, so I'll lube it up a little bit to help everything. We got that. You can probably hear it a bit better now. There's a nice little just movement in that gear, just a little bit of clearance so it doesn't bind. I guess I should probably put the spring back on. So we'll get that back on there. We'll get a little bit of tension loaded in it. Because that even though it's electric motor now, it still needs a little bit of help, you know, to even the load on the motor, the same as it evens the load on your arm when you're cranking it. So we'll get that back on there, put it in the car and see if it actually translates from working on the bench to working in the car. All right, I'll be back in a second. Oh, the moment of truth. Get this regulator back in and see if this crazy idea is going to work. Okay, so gotta get this hooked into the channel in the window, which is not as easy as you'd think. Especially when you got, there we go. Just reaching, it's the challenge. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do is line up All the holes. I'm just going to have to get it down a little bit. Allow this to rock around some. Just try and stop the window dropping too far. Right. Here's one of them. Too tight. We just have to get this puppy up. We get another one lined up. Pop it in with some tree right now. That out of there. Okay, so I got a power supply here. Just see what happens, shall we? Oh, look at that. Let's reverse it. I'd say that's working pretty well, wouldn't you? That'll come down all the way. Well, that, I'm going to call that a success. About you guys. Alrighty. So, a little bit of wiring to do. We've got to obviously run wiring for this, for the motor. I'm really happy with how it's working. It's pretty quiet, going up and down, you know, with plenty of power to spare. You know, it's not lazy, it's not slow. So, one down, 3 to go. I'm going to tear a back door out, or the regulator out next, and just kind of see what's involved with that. So, let me get that out, and we'll have a look on the bench. I'll be back in a second. Got the back regulator out. I've been trimming a little bit. That kind of used to go there with the old, you know, the old manual winder handle on it. So I've trimmed a bit of that, been kind of whittling away and whittled the original bracket down on this. As you can see, yeah, quite a lot of it gone. So now that I've got it to the point where this will, in theory, slide in and sit about there like that. And impossible to see. I mean, you're not going to be able to see it on camera, but like down in there, you can kind of see the gears meshing nicely. It's sitting square, you know, it needs to tweak slightly that way. But it's running true with the fan gear, and that's about ready to tack weld in place. So yeah, it's just a game of trial and error. You just take a little bit off, see where it, slide it in, see where it doesn't fit, trim a little bit off there, back in again. So I've probably spent, I don't know, 30-40 minutes on this, just sneaking up, getting this basically in closer and closer to the fan gear till it's where it needs to be. And yeah, so other than just letting you watch a bunch of boring stuff and fast forwarding it, yeah, that's where we've come to. And really, it's just trial and error, man. So we're going to get a couple little tacks on here, and then we can carry on welding. Obviously, we'll need to take the motor off because of the plastic housing. Not going to like to be welded on. But right about there, then we got 2 screws holding the motor on. A third one goes here, which is through there. So once we get this tacked on, we'll drill through this original part of the plate, and the screw will then actually go through and capture the old regulator and the new regulator. So that can't hurt. So yeah, let's throw a couple of tacks down on it and proceed. Alright, give it a little tack in there. It's looking good. I'll cool her off and screw it together and see if it works. And drill out this little hole here for the third screw in the motor. Just trying to check that we've got the right correct depth of mesh in here. Right, so got that motor meshing where I want to, the right depth into the teeth, which is just a matter of just finessing the holes a little bit. Just getting them to sit just a fraction deeper. We're only talking 32nd of an inch maybe. But now it's time to get this helper spring loaded up. So we've got to wind this mechanism back past where it normally runs. Pop that under there. This comes back around and it preloads it. Just pop the vice grip on there just to stop it springing around while we get the motor on. And it's going to go there. Want that squeezed in as far as we can get that way. Yeah, you can let that go now and the gear's going to hold it. So this is the passenger side, so yeah, as the motor goes down, you know, as this arm comes down, it's dumbass. That's why I thought I had it wrong there for a minute, but I didn't. As this comes down, it tightens the spring up, and that spring in turn helps it back up, to rise back up. So let's run a bit of power to this and see if it sounds as good as the front one. That didn't sound good. Whoop, there we go. I think that gear wasn't quite meshed properly, but it popped in. Here we go. Sounds good, man. We'll just set it back to about the halfway position. All right. Now, we'll lube this up. Get it ready to go back in. Alrighty. So, bench tested it, as you saw. That worked there. Got it back in now. Not that easy a thing to do, I'll be honest with you, getting it in there with that scissor mechanism they've got and getting the window back in there all at the same time is a bit of fun, but you know, it's got to be done. So let's give it a quick test. In here, guess we got a 50-50 chance of getting it the right way around. And we failed. Okay, we'll just switch those. Down it comes. Yep. Wow. That's pretty good, I reckon. Now, you can see I've had to cut out here. There was a recessed part of the panel, kind of like here, which, you know, was where the motor wanted to be, and this silver part of the motor is kind of just coming through the door skin, the inner door skin. So we just had to cut that out to let that sit nice. Now that doesn't compromise the structure. I mean, you've got lots of holes in these inner skins. So yeah, a little bit of a trim there. We'll paint up those edges, those bare edges, that kind of thing. So the next fun thing now is actually going to be getting the wiring through, because we got 4 windows working electrically, but we've got no connections. So yeah, next bit of fun is getting in some switches, running some wiring. Now I've got a little bit of a kind of head start on the wiring in that I've already run the little rubber bellows through that go between the door, the door frame and the door jamb to get wiring through. So I've got somewhere to run all the wiring for the switches. So I've just got to dive in and get all that done, which is, not as much fun as making this stuff up, but hey, you got to be done. It's got to go up and down by a button. So I'm going to get all that done and come back and show you the finished article. Alrighty. Well, she's done. In answer to the question, can you do power windows 4x4 for under 130 bucks? It would seem yes, you can is the answer. Okay, we ran. That doesn't get them wired and working for you for 130 bucks, but it does get the motors and the mechanisms in the doors. We probably spent probably another. I think the 3 switches, the gang switch of 4, and the 3 other individual switches ran us about 40 bucks. And obviously got a bit of electrical wiring, some connectors and stuff like that. But I think we can comfortably say we did it for under 200 bucks, which I'm pretty happy with. So, I've spent the last few hours running wiring, which I'd already done quite, got ahead of the game running the central locking wiring. So I just had to kind of follow that same route, run the wires through the same little, rubber boots that go between the door and the, I'll show you what I'm talking about, like these little rubber boots in here. That they've all had the central lock wiring running through them, so it was just a matter of adding the power window switching through there. So that helped a little bit. And then wiring wise, it's just a bunch of grounds and positives. You run a power supply to each door, to the main gang switch, and then the switches just control your grounds. And honestly, I just Googled up wiring diagram for an 80s GM electric windows, and popped right up, really quick and easy to follow. So I would just do that if you're going to do that. The other thing you can do is, I think it's Electric Life up on Summit, have a wiring harness for electric, like a pre-made one for electric windows. That comes with all the switches, all the plugs, the pigtails, everything you need. That is a couple of $100, and I was trying to try and do a cheapskate version on this one. So, we came in under $200 with pigtails and everything you needed. And, which did, that took quite a few more hours. So if you put a value on your hours, maybe not the best way to do it, but, it's the cheapest way to do it. So, let me show you what we got done. There's the old, I'm sure most of you have seen switches like that, like the old Impalas and, like those 70s, 80s Impalas, the gang of 4 switches. We have the single ones on the other 3 doors. And also, look who dropped by. Pee-wee. Fishing Gerald, or Fish Geralding, I should say. He called by the other day, dropped by, drove up from Georgia to come and see the shop and see what was going on. And he brought Pee-wee along for the ride and left him with us. So Kiwi Kev's got a new buddy. And I think that was pretty fun, kind of a little thing to do. So anyway, let's show these windows working. So we got driver's door. Here's the passenger door, back door, and driver's side back door. So yeah, all done. Good to go. I'm pretty happy with that. I like having power windows. I like having a few of the bells and whistles. One of the things on my sort of shopping list to do is an electric bench seat, which would be quite nice. If you guys ever see one in an old Mopar, 57, 8, 9 would pretty much all be the same. So let me know if you do. I did manage to get a full set of side trim for Marge just recently, thanks to a tip from one of you guys. So, your help is greatly appreciated. It really is. So, yeah, that's about it for today. I'm going to call that good to go and go home and have a bourbon. So, take it easy, guys, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.